Hiya, Stephen. Welcome to the Retail Media Technology Podcast. You're commercial director of SocioLocal. I guess the first question we should really kick off with is, what is SocioLocal? Tell us about it.
Yeah, hi Stephen. First of all, obviously, thanks for having me. SocioLocal is we're a software platform in the marketing space. We specialize in building marketing solutions for multi-location businesses. So what our software enables, retailers with 100 plus locations to do is maximize their social media potential at a local level. And what I mean by that is, if a retailer has 1,000 locations, we help them deliver content that's relevant to each location's local social media page, whether that be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, for example. So that's the core of our product offering, and naturally in social media, it dabbles into other areas such as paid advertising through local pages, reporting, managing customer service like direct messages, reviews on Google, etc. But that's what we do. We've been going now for roughly around 7 years, and we work across a number of verticals. We're very strong in the grocery sector, working with the likes of Spar International, Musgraves in Ireland, Booker Group. And then we work in other verticals such as franchise with the likes of Starbucks, and with a number of aggregators as well, like Just Eat and Snappy Shopper.
Very, very good. So why would a retail business like a Tesco or a Sainsbury's want to have local social media sites when isn't it easier if they just manage everything centrally?
Yeah, it used to be easier, and that's the perceived opinion of it, where it's easier because it's only one national brand social media page, and that used to be the case a number of years ago. But with tools like ours today, you can actually, without any major extra input into it, you can actually derive a lot more value out of social media by having local pages for each store. And the reason it's valuable, Steve, is the majority of interactions actually take place on local social media pages. So let's take Sainsbury's, for example. Obviously, we don't work with Sainsbury's, but the general stats are 78% of engagements will actually come through local social media pages versus the brand page. And where these local pages can be really powerful, particularly from a consumer level, is, when you're a consumer and you're seeing content from your local store, convenience store, or supermarket, that resonates with you a lot more than a national brand page. So these local pages are actually key avenues to reach people at a hyper local level around where that store is actually based, compared to a large national brand page that is just a generic message going out at a national level. By activating the local pages, you're able to run really streamlined and targeted campaigns based on a number of different categories. You could have new store opening campaigns, you could have your store is segmented by certain products they offer or promotions they're running. So it allows you to actually support your stores at a much more hyper local level, reach people within that community, which the data that we have shows it's more cost effective from a return on ad spend. It's cheaper to reach people going through these local pages, but they actually engage more with this content a lot more than what they would do through a national brand page.
Interesting. So I think what you're saying is that the local content somehow gets a higher prioritization. And then does that mean then if you kind of were to add up and aggregate all of the respective local store pages, you would expect that the aggregate engagement, whether that's reach or however the customers engage with social media, is going to be much higher if you're managing a set of disparate sites versus one national one. Is that?
Absolutely. And not only is the engagement higher, the impressions, the reach are typically far higher as well. And also, not to be overlooked, the accumulated fan count is actually higher. When you have hundreds and in some case thousands of local stores, the consumers living near them are following these local pages, and the overall total fan count typically far outweighs that of the national brand page as well.
Okay, and that's really interesting. And then I guess you'd say, well, why don't people do that? And my experience would be, well, because it's time consuming and costly and difficult. And you're probably going to say, well, that's where you come in. Is that, have I heard it correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think traditionally that perception of it being difficult came from people trying to do this through, native tools like Facebook itself, Instagram itself, and then you have some other social media tools in the market that are your general providers, that have been around for a long time, like Hootsuite and Sprout Social, and they've very much built a good social media tool to manage brand pages. So nobody really focused on, well, how can we solve this multi-location challenge that multi-location retailers are facing? So with our tool, that's exactly what we do. We make it super simple to be able to take 1,000 stores, create a post for those 1,000 stores, but also personalize it and tailor that post and distribute it down to these local pages in the same amount of time it would take you to create one post for your brand page. We can personalize and deliver posts, ads down to those local store pages by inserting tailored parameters. So it's personalized. It would, if I was a consumer and I saw my local store, it would actually, in the copy and the images and the videos, it would be tweaking what's in that content to make it more about my store rather than just the general brand or generic branding.
That's very, very interesting. And so, how long have you been going, Stephen? Because this is something I've not really come across before. So is it fairly new?
Yeah, I think in the early years we've been around for 7 years in total as a business, and really in the last 3 years specifically, we focused on selling our software. In the early days, we were very much an agency, and I suppose for lack of a better phrase, we were working with hundreds of independent SMEs in the hospitality and grocery sector, and the software tools we were using to try and facilitate this was just it was a nightmare, to be honest. So that set us on this path of building our piece of software that we have today. So the formative years were very much building the plane as we were flying it, I suppose, for lack of a better phrase. And we started to properly commercialize our software and focus on multi-location in kind of 2022. And then things started transforming for us in 2023, where, we naturally started landing bigger logos and really understanding our ideal customer, but also, the value that we're delivering to them. Not just in regards to simplifying what is a very complex problem, but the real business benefits to them. Reaching more people for a lot more cost-effective price is obviously very valuable to any marketing team. But the fact we're actually able to deliver that at a hyper-local level does one of two things. First of all, for symbol groups, it massively supports their independents or their franchisees, who are always crying out for more support in social media. So it ticks that box, and it allows them to buy that audience at a fraction of the cost as if they were doing it through the national brand page. And thankfully, we have some very bought-in customers that run case studies with us. And when we look at the data, we've been able to tie our software and delivering this content at a hyper-local level to in-store increase in product sales that are being promoted as well, which for us is ultimately the end goal, helping our customers drive more revenue in-store for their independent retailers or the stores they own themselves.
Okay, so I guess as a clue in our name, the Retail Media Technology Podcast, how does the retail media opportunity present itself?
Yeah, so retail media is something we've known about for a number of years now, and we never really went into it because we were so focused on building the core value offering of our software. But now really the time is right. What our software in essence allows our customers, where retail media is applicable, is start to monetize these local social media pages. And where that is very different to their national brand pages today and other traditional retail media models, is they are selling their brand page space typically today based on CPM costs or the number of fans those pages have. Whereas what we're able to do is actually take the local social media pages and package them up to a brand and say, you could run a campaign through 300 local store pages with a total fan count of X. Why this is super important is they can actually access the local fans of the consumers following those pages. right? So a consumer is now seeing let's say a Coca-Cola ad from their local store, not from a national big brand campaign where they don't really engage with those national brand pages. They're seeing it from their local store page. And what we're able to do by doing that, we can actually feed back the results in a lot more detail to the brands compared to a national campaign, right? If you run a national campaign for Coca-Cola on your brand page, you have total reach, total engagements, potentially total sales uplift. We can give back all of that data on an independent store level, which is a lot more valuable. So we can actually tell them which stores reached the most amount of people, the engagements that took place, and the associated sales uplift of the product. And where that's become really exciting for us is we're changing the game of retail media, particularly on social media. People are doing it through their brand pages today. They can't do it at a hyper local level, but that's something we enable. And some really exciting things that have happened for us as we started to kind of roll out this product are we've been doing like for like comparisons where we are going up against in-store activations. And a great example of this is we've done a recent case study where there was 20 stores in one bucket, another 20 stores in another bucket just to test an activation. The first cohort were getting point of sale in-store activation pop-up, promoting a very well-known stout. I won't say much more than that. And the other 20 were just getting our digital ads. And the in-store product sales from the ones that got our ads through our product outperformed the in-store activation by 12% on average across the stores. And when you think about it, we're not saying it should be local social media or nothing. Absolutely, in-store activation and is really important. But what we can do is, and where we're different is, our net is typically wider than an in-store activation. So not only are we captivating that local audience, we actually help drive people to the store to purchase that product. Whereas if it's an in-store activation, you're more reliant on the person going to that store for whatever reason and hoping they see your ad and then make the purchase in store. So for us, that was a very compelling piece of evidence about the differences of what we can offer from, I suppose, a commercial standpoint and the impact it has at a store level versus maybe more traditional retail media methods.
That's interesting. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly the case in retail that most of the supermarkets, most of the big retailers actually will monetize their brand pages, as you say. But presumably, what you're saying is, well, that's fine, but you're going to get a lot more because the aggregate of all the individual pages is going to be a much higher audience, which is great. But then again, many retailers are also monetizing their audience beyond their brand pages by enabling brands to use the loyalty data to buy a bigger audience. So, are you able to also do any audience acquisition? And are there any advantages that you would think that you would have versus a national proposition?
Yeah, I think one thing that we see is, yes, you can at that national level, you can absolutely take that loyalty data, build lookalike audiences and target it that way. Where we are very different to that is, in that setting, the ad is running through a brand page and you're tweaking the audience at a national level typically, right? And you can upload postcodes to target them, but ultimately what you still have is you've one brand page with a large budget that is trying to buy what is always typically a large audience. And the algorithms, unfortunately, for marketeers on the social media systems, typically that's expensive. It's expensive to buy your results, your cost per click, your CPMs. Whereas the difference with us from an advertising perspective, we can take that large budget. Let's say it's 100 stores and it's 1,000 quid per campaign. Typically it's far larger than this, but we can distribute that out equally across those 100 stores. So what we're taking is what is typically a large budget, large geography. We break that into micro budgets across each individual store, and the results we're seeing are significant. Where, for one stat, the CPM, so cost to reach 1,000 people, comes in on average on our product running these ads through the local stores at 38% cheaper than it comes in through the brand pages. And
Wow.
that's based on
What
us
was
analyzing.
it? 38% cheaper.
Absolutely,
What?
yeah.
And you? Yeah. Wow.
Which is significant. So like when you start to look at the commercials there and the business case behind that, you can basically reach a fraction of the same amount of people for a fraction of the cost. But more importantly, we know that these local pages get more engagement, and we know there are more engaged users that are actually close to the store that is selling that product. And from case studies we've done with our customer, we know it has a better impact on increasing product sales than national Facebook campaigns or Instagram campaigns do. So the value chain is really quite compelling for the retailer, the brand, doing retail media on these pages. And then also, if they are independent retailers, it's equally beneficial for them because they're getting free advertising on their local social media pages, and they're attracting more customers and better product sales of the products that are being promoted.
That's very, very impressive. Thanks so much for explaining that. That's really, really clear and very, very compelling. So, how do you see? What are your plans to conquer the world? How do you see things unfolding?
Yeah, so for us, when you have thousands of social media pages, the complexity in managing them and selling that real estate is difficult. So we are very much focused right now on making sure that our retail media product is super efficient and simple to use for assigning the slots to the retail media team that they can sell, and booking those brand campaigns for the brands, tracking the revenue that the retailer is generating. So our key focus now is ensuring that product is as smooth as it can possibly be, so they can maximize selling the space of these local pages. Our plans are very ambitious. We luckily have a number of customers in grocery retail. We have 5 already that want to activate the retail media software. That's all kicking off in January, which we're very excited about. And then we have conversations happening with companies based in the States, South Africa, parts of Africa. So it's very exciting. But leading the sales team, ultimately for me, it's about your standard sales economics, right? What's our target next year? How can we 3x that, the pipeline, and then filling up that pipeline, and then managing the sales cycle to ultimately hit our target. And the retail media piece for us is, for the company, what is already a very exciting space, and we've had some amazing wins over the last couple of years. I suppose this could really be the rocket fuel to bring the business to that next level, and open up a brand new revenue stream for us and our customers.
No, that's brilliant. It sounds like you're going to have a very busy but exciting 2026. So, yeah, Stephen, thanks so much for coming on and explaining to us SocioLocal and not just the benefits of the core product, which does sound really, really interesting, but of course that retail media opportunity off the back of it. So, best of luck, and yeah, we'll see you in the come back and tell us in the new year how you've been getting on.
I was just about to say that when we've got some more compelling case studies and more data on the retail media, I'd love to come back and kind of share the results and the successes. But yeah, I very much appreciate you having me on, Steve. And yeah, hopefully we can do it again soon.
Very good. Okay,
Perfect.
all the best.
Thanks. I'll see you later. Bye bye.